So, hi guys, here I am again, and as promised, I will be speaking today on the Indian football and what has been happening with our Indian football team. And of course, that question that always comes, that why Indian football is not being able to, qualify for the World Cup. And as I said before, that this is something on purpose. I am shooting this video now is because I didn't want to do it when the World Cup was going on, because when the World Cup goes on, it is mainly all kind of emotional talks that we end up having, that we say things like why India is not qualifying. We have 140 billion people, and we are not able to find 11 people. So in the World Cup time, those are those emotional talks, and big talks happen, change the infrastructure, change corruption is there, system badlo, all these big talks happen when the World Cup is there. But then once the World Cup goes, things eventually go down, and all the talks are just talks, and we don't end up getting any solutions. So that's why I wanted to speak now rather than speak during the World Cup about what is happening in Indian football. So now to start off with, first let us try to understand, how Indian football has been doing over the years. So it is not like Indian football has never been good. So if you look at the 1950s or 1960s, Indian football has been, was doing quite well, in the past. So in the 1950s, 60s, they have, won in the Asian Games. They have, even in the Olympics, they were able to come fourth. And overall, the Indian team was doing quite well during that particular era. But then, since the 60s was done, there was a downfall. Now we can go to various reasons as why that downfall had happened. But this video is not about that, or this is not about, understanding why did we go down and what happened. But it is about how we can come to a level where, we have a chance to qualify for the World Cup. So before we go into qualifying for the World Cup, the first thing that the Indian team will need to do is, of course, qualify for the Asian AFC, as it's called, the Asian Football Confederation, and that is something that we have not been able to do. India comes to the qualifiers, and even this time we ended up, qualifying, not qualifying. We ended up, being the third team, and only the top two qualify for the, then the Asian, cup. And then after that, one whoever is the ones that are, able to, achieve the top positions are the ones who qualify for the World Cup. So we ended up coming third to Qatar and Kuwait, and we didn't do that well. The levels were not at what we were expecting, and that is something that has been there for quite some time, that we are not being able to reach those levels. So to start off and say that, with some of the myths that have gone on with Indian football, is one that has been told by a lot of foreigners and even by Indians, is that Indians don't have the, genes to, match the, foreign players, whether it is Europe or South America or the Africans. They are way better when it comes to genes, so we are not having that ability, which of course is not true. It has been proven now time and again, whether you see the kind of players which have been Indian origin. And even in this World Cup, you saw this player called Sarabjit who was playing for New Zealand. There was another guy called Muthuswamy who was playing for DRC. They're all Indian origin people who have gone down and settled there and have been playing at the highest level. So it's not that there's no problem in the Indian genes. Even if you see our athletes now, everyone is competing at a good level with the foreign players as well. So all these, myths that was put, and it was in a way to try and demoralize, us, to say that, you're not good enough, your genes are not good enough, which was of course all bogus kind of talks. And you expect that from the foreigners, but unfortunately, as always, we have certain Indians who are, busy, spreading that kind of propaganda, that Indian, athletes don't have that kind of genes to compete. So that is something that has been proven. Indian players, regardless of which game it is, whether it is at the Olympic level, at the Asian Games level, or in football as well, are as having the physical ability to match with all those big players. So now, coming to the solutions. So the solution is something that we always hear is the simplified solution of infrastructure, has to be in place, the corruption has to go, the system is the problem, change the system is all the talks that we eventually end up hearing, which is of course a part of the problem which has to be solved. But honestly speaking, it is not just that is going to get us through where we want to achieve, that is reaching the World Cup or being a team that is competing at least at the Asia level with all these teams like a Saudi Arabia or a Qatar or Japan or Korea, kind of, who are the top teams in Asia. So to start off with, I would like to compare, rather than comparing with cricket, which is won't be the right thing to do. We always compare to cricket, that why cricket has been able to achieve that, why we are not able to do it, is because they are getting the funds, or we are not getting the funds. It is won't be the right way to put it, because cricket has certain amount of teams that play, and cricket has its own history of how they have evolved, and how they have been able to get to the level that they have. And in today's date, India is a powerhouse when it comes to cricket. And rather than envying them, or start comparing with them, it is won't be the right way to look at it. One thing that we can learn from cricket is how they have been able to create a brand through the IPL, which has completely changed the way, the kind of talent pool we were able to get, the kind of exposure we are able to get. So that is something that we can learn from them, is that the kind of branding that was done through the IPL, and now in today's date, you can see the level that Indian cricket has reached, and the powerhouse that BCCI has become. And ICC is basically, in a way, you feel that the BCCI is the main organization body that dictates everything when it comes to world of cricket. But I would not go start comparing India and Indian cricket and Indian football. I would rather you know compare what has been happening in India for the past 12 years. So that is in that case, I'm talking about the Indian government. So what happened when the new government came in 2014? There was all these kinds of talks were there. India's corruption, India's systematic problem, and India has to have that kind of infrastructure to become the country that we want to become. We were the 11th largest at that time when the new government took over. But what had happened is that the government, and especially our prime minister, he ended up saying that the country won't change through governments. The country would change when all Indians come together and make a difference. All Indians participate on part of the problem that we have and try to find solutions to that. And that is exactly the mindset change that has happened in India from what we were in 2014 to what we are today in 2026. Because if we would have realized, and again, the reason I'm using the government's example is, if we would have done the same thing of saying infrastructure, corruption, system badlo, kind of things, then we wouldn't have been where we are. The reason why things were able to change is because people of India decided that yes, it is our job as well to make this country a better country. So for that, we have to ensure that we maintain cleanliness, we ensure that we participate into these various government programs or government initiatives that are coming, and try to make that change. Like for example, a digital India. Now, if the government just gets an infrastructure in place, they get, oh, we have got the digital infrastructure in place, no, no, let's see, digital India will be successful. But digital India was not successful because, only because the government got the infrastructure in place. It was because the people of India decided, and the people of India participated in that and said, this is something that we have to be a part of, and we have to start doing it. And we saw that happening throughout the country. And it is not only us who ended up going the technology way, but even the people, whether it is a vegetable seller or whether it's a fruit seller or it's some chaatwala, or whether even if you go up till I remember going to Himachal Pradesh, even the momo guys is using the scanner for making payments, the digital payments through, even he's selling momos on the cycle. So the point I'm making is it was a mindset change that made the difference, and that is why India is where it is, because it is not just the government that they are started getting the infrastructure, they made the roads, or they're making the railways, or they are doing getting airports built or ports built. It is because of the mindset change that you and me as Indians made. And it does not matter which political, it's not about politics, it's not about you being one side or you being the other side. It was we as Indians having that mindset change, and that is where we saw that okay, if we are in this together, the change can happen. And that is why we saw this change. And if you see what we were before and what we are today, there's a big difference. The way the world looks at us, there's a very big difference. I remember being in Australia in 2011. People used to look at us in a very way that okay, this guy is from some third world country, they're this, they're that. But because we made that mindset change by saying that no, we are not as less as anyone, and we have to get into this together, and then only the change will happen. And that is why we saw this change that has come when it comes to India as a country. So coming back to football, that is something exactly what we need, is that we can keep on harping on infrastructure and the system and everything, which has to change. There's no doubt in that. There are a lot of things that has to be done, and someone like me, I would not, I'm not an expert in that. It is better to hear maybe a Ranjit Bajaj, who is the coach of Minerva. He has given a 2.5 hour podcast to Raj Shamani, where he's explained about the infrastructure, he's explained about the corruption and the system and what changes has to be made, which has to be made. But till the time we do not get involved, and I put myself into this, because I am wearing a Liverpool jersey today, but why am I not wearing an Indian jersey? Why am I not wearing Indian club's jersey? Because we are ourselves not involved in it. We people who play football, we watch football every week, we speak about the English Premier League, but it is our responsibility to get involved, and this is the time to get involved, not during when the World Cup comes and we start talking about Indian football. This is this time where after 4 years, when it will be our chance to qualify the World Cup. And it is this time where people like us, and I start with me, who need to get involved, who, okay, I support Liverpool, but I should also get involved to support my local club, or of course Indian team. And I have started to follow more of the Indian team, and for watch their matches. But still it is not enough. There has to be more to be done, and it has to start with us. It has to start with me. It has to start with all my friends who are involved in football, who play football, who watch football so much, but not do as much for the Indian football. So there are some of my friends who do that. They go and watch our local clubs play, they support them, and they of course watch the Indian football team. So it has to start with us, and we need to get more involved and understand more about our clubs, and try and give them more support, because that is all they are asking for. I remember our captain Sunil Chetri, I think it was 2020 or 2021 during COVID, where they had a match. I think it was 21, where they had a match against New Zealand in Mumbai, and he had to come and say that please come and watch us. No one is coming and watching us. We are not having full stadiums. Hardly people watch. So he made an appeal, and we felt so bad that see, our Indian captain has to football captain has to come and make an appeal for people to watch the matches. So that is where we all went and we watched the Indian team. The match was in Andheri Sports Complex, where they played against New Zealand. We lost, but that was not the point. The point was that the stadium was full, and by the end of the match, he did come along with his team and thanked everyone that I made an appeal, and I thank you all for coming down and supporting us. And that is something that has to be consistent. So for the Indian football, it has been more, the crowds have been coming in, it has been much better than before. But when it comes to the local football, it's still not up to the mark. And till the time we do not get involved, and we just start talking about the infrastructure has to be in place, this has to done, this has to be done, pointing fingers, it won't happen. These things have to happen hand in hand, and that is where it is important for the government or private businesses to do invest in the game. But at the same time, it is for us to show that interest in the game, because till the time those guys won't see that people are ready to put their time watching a game of football, then they would also not care, because for them, you see, in the end, they are when it comes to private businesses as well, they are also looking at what kind of returns they will get for the investment that they are making. If they are seeing that, okay, there are people who are ready to come to the stadium and watch matches, there are people who are ready to watch matches maybe through TV or through OTT, through those platforms, then they also will start funding even more, they also will start investing even more. And the ISL is just a start, but again we are seeing that that drop is there, because people are not that involved as they are involved in the Premier League. So of course you can argue that the ISL has not been able to create that brand that Premier League has been able to create the brand, which is one of the reasons why Premier League is the most watched, because the way they have done their branding, we have not been able to achieve it. But again, we can't compare because they have been doing it for years. They were a league, and through the league championship, they changed it to the Premier League in the 1990s, and then they create build on that brand year on year. So the ISL is not that old, so it has just started. So they have to create that brand year on year, and it is important for us to also be involved in the leagues and support our teams. And it is, as I told you, goes hand in hand, infrastructure and the systematic changes, corruption, because it can't be either or. It can't be this comes and then the people will come. It can't be that the people come and the other things are not taken care of. So again, the point that I was making about the government, so it is not like even look at is even today, it's not that the system has changed completely, right? But we have still made progress. It's not like we saw the education thing, that the system is still having issues. There are still a lot of things to be done. The government has to give more infrastructure, the government has to look at the kind of corruption that is happening with the paper leaks. But that does not mean that we just sit and just wait for things to happen. It is important for us to be involved in everything that is happening in our country, and once that happens, the changes start happening. And that is exactly that happened even in cricket, where people are so involved in the game that eventually people will put money into the game, because they know that there are so many followers, and there are so many people who are ready to play the game, watch the game. So that kind of culture has to be created by ourselves first, by us who are involved in the game, who play the game or watch the game. But also after that, we try to expand it even more, that others also get involved in the game and start either playing it or at least watching it. So and this argument, another thing that I've heard a lot is about, we have 140 billion people, why can't we find 11 players? That is again a very silly argument, because 140 billion people are not involved in the game of football. 140 billion people might be involved in the game of cricket, but they are not involved in football. There are hardly pockets in the country where football is there is a culture of football. Maybe a Mumbai, or maybe Kolkata, or if you go up north to Punjab with Chandigarh, or that some of the districts of Punjab where the football is played a lot, and there is a kind of culture there. And then we go to northeast, where of course a lot of our players come from, so there it is there. And down south, maybe a Kerala or a Goa, and to some extent a Bangalore, where football is so watched properly by the people. But overall, like cricket, it is not, we don't have that kind of fan base, especially at the club level. Indian football following is much better than before, but at the club level there is not much, because when we say that, oh, 140 billion, they are not involved. So it is our job that first we start ourselves to support our local clubs, and then we go into the part of getting it even spread even more. So that was one of my points. And another point I would like to make is that we talk about, again, I'm coming to the infrastructure and corruption and systematic changes and all that, they are important. But if you look at, and I can give you the example of Cape Verde and DRC, though both these teams were able to qualify to the World Cup. And I can tell you by experience, I've been working in Africa now for 5 years. And I have been to those countries, not Cape Verde, not too much involved, but DRC or Angola or Cameroon, all these countries I have been to. You know, when I've gone there, I've seen that they don't have anything. They don't even have the basic infrastructure. People are still fighting over the basic things. You and me are sitting here and having the basic things that are there, but there they don't have anything. They don't have basic infrastructure, no roads, no electricity, water is an issue. So how come they are able to still go to the World Cup? And it is a fascinating question, isn't it, that we as a country, we have got these things. They as a country, they are not even close to us. They are still, I can say, back into the maybe the 1990 time that India was, that is a license raj, very government controlled, all. And they have all kinds of corruption. They don't have infrastructure, but how come they have been able to qualify for the World Cup? And the reason being is the point I made before about the government, is that there is a mindset. There is a mindset that we as a nation are into this together, and there's a culture in that country that we are going to play. This is the game that we love playing. There's a passion about it, and wherever you go, there is people who are involved in the game, and playing that game. And that is why they are able to find those players who are having the ability and having the talent, which is something that India also has. There is a lot of talent in India as well, but in a DRC and a Cape Verde, everywhere you go, they are playing football. And I experienced it when I was in Cameroon. One of my banker friends told me that we are playing football on Sunday, so if you want to join us, you can join us. So I decided to go and play with them. And I remember going at 7 a.m. in the morning, and as I'm going towards the ground, there are these small grounds that are there all around, and there are children that are playing football there. Every other as we say, as it is for us for cricket, every other place you go, whether it's the roads, whether it is some ground, people are playing cricket. And that is the kind of culture they have been able to build, that we have been able to find for cricket. So it is not the point I'm making. It's not the simplistic solution to give, that it's the infrastructure, it is the money, it is this, it is corruption. They are corrupt. There's all kinds of corruption there. They don't have the infrastructure, but they're still able to find a way to make a team, and to go to the World Cup, because they have that kind of passion, they have that mindset, and they are able to get the players and their entire country. I was speaking to some of my DRC friends. I'm like, how you guys are able to do it? He's like, it's just the passion. We, as people from DRC, we are completely involved, and we are right behind our team, and we support them. And that is the kind of culture they have been able to build, whether it's DRC or Cape Verde, and even other of the Cameroon teams. So, and the point that was also made about these small clubs, that they qualified because they made it from 32 to 48 teams. But that's not the case, because whether if you see the African continent, the big teams did not qualify. There were a couple of big teams that did not qualify for the World Cup, that is Nigeria and Cameroon. So these guys were able to beat those guys, and make to the World Cup. So to say that, they made it 48, that's why those teams were able to reach the World Cup, is it won't be the right thing to say. They reached the World Cup because it is not that they just before the World Cup they wake up and say, oh, let us go to the World Cup. It's not like that. Every day that they play, whether it's their daily lives, it is part of their life, the playing football on the ground, and play, then the day by day working hard, and then able to create that team that will compete for the qualifyings and then go to the World Cup. So that is something that is important for us also to learn from them, that that kind of passion, that kind of mindset has to come in India as well. And it has to start with me, it has to start with the people who watch football and play football. And then we have to create that atmosphere, kind of a culture all across the country. And once that happens, once we are able to get that kind of talent, then that hand in hand of infrastructure, of working on the corruption part as well, because that will eventually happen. Because you saw it in the same way in cricket, where there was corruption. There's so much corruption at one time, but as we went ahead, as the funds came in, as the infrastructure came in, the people got involved more. more than what it was before. That's where we saw the change happening, and now we see that cricket is much better, in a much better place. So the same can happen in football. It's We are seeing in the hockey team as well. Our hockey team was doing really well in the past, then they lost their way, and then they are again starting to build themselves like before, because again it is a hand in hand thing that has happened, that the and for the hockey especially, the credit goes to not the central government. More than the central government, it is the Orissa government, who was led by Naveen Patnaik, who in put the funds in the infrastructure, who gave them the kind of opportunities that we're looking at. But again, it was because people were involved. The game of hockey was well spread. We are getting a lot of players from all across the country, and we as Indians, there are a lot of people who are supporting our hockey teams, and they are able to now start competing with the European teams as well. So why can't Indian football team do? They can also do it, but it will happen only when we start working on both these things, going hand in hand, rather than one waiting for the other. And once we are able to do that, then we start seeing the changes happening. So I hope I'm able to explain it clearly, that why we not been able to do what we are wanting to do, that our Indian team is not able to reach the World Cup, the football World Cup. First thing is first, we should start with ourselves, and at the same time create that pressure in the system, and try to make changes there. But the important thing is for us to come together as Indians and create that culture. That 140 billion is there for cricket, but that 140 billion needs to now be there for football as well, and that starts with us. And then once it is us, then of course we can question the system, we can start making changes. I expect the infrastructure, once there is that kind of interest there, and once the interest is there, then the money will flow in. There is no doubt in that, because in the end it is also business. You are putting your money somewhere, you should see that the returns. If the interest is there, the people are there, the eyeballs are there, people are ready to go to the grounds and play on the grounds all across the country, then the change will happen. And then I believe that India will have its chance as well when it comes to the qualifying for the World Cup. First aim should be to go into the Asia qualifiers and get qualified for the Asia Cup, and then comes the next step of going into the World Cup. And I believe we can do it, but we have to do it together. We have to do it as Indians, and support the game, because it's a beautiful game. We saw the World Cup, we saw how good it was. We were all so involved in it, and we absolutely enjoyed the game. And how the intensity of the game is, how with passion these players play. So it is a game that I've seen that there's a lot of interest there in India, but now it is time for us to start acting from today, not when we reach the next 2030 World Cup, and start saying when will we qualify for the why don't we qualify for the World Cup, we have 140 billion. That's not going to happen if we have this approach. It needs to start from today. It has to start from me, it has to start from all of us, and then things will eventually happen. So thanks everyone for watching this. And yeah, next week I will come, and I will next time make one video. So I don't want to make a two videos and make it too many videos for you over the weekend. So I'll make another video next week, maybe on Saturday or Sunday. Let's see when I get time. And hopefully I'll come up with something interesting next time. And hope you enjoyed it as well. So, and I hope you enjoyed this video as well. So take care and have a good Sunday. Bye bye.